Hey, everybody. Thanks for listening to the Raw Knuckles podcast. We'd really appreciate it if you'd like, subscribe, and share with a friend.
When I stepped on the ice, I never backed down and I never stayed down.
And I was vicious and I was malicious, and I don't care.
He's a freaking madman. Look at him going to town. That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine.
Hey, Dennis, welcome into the Raw Knuckles podcast. Awesome to see you, my friend. Listen, Habs this week. Tough week. I went to the Devils game. They lost 5-1. Sat right in the front row. And I got to tell you, right behind that visiting net, that Devils hockey team is unbelievable. But they spanked the Habs 5-1. Then they go to Columbus, lose 6-4. And then the other night, Saturday night against the Flyers, I got to tell you, it was one of the most exciting games I've seen in this city in a long time. Incredible finish. Looks like they might not get this tie. And Suzuki just off the charts. The pass he makes to Caulfield, 1.9 seconds left. They tie it. And then Suzuki does it in overtime. This team, man, they're exciting. They're finding ways to win. The one thing, I guess, for me, Dennis, and you got to take risks to score goals. I get it. But they're giving up way too many goals. And Thanksgiving's coming. If they're not in the playoffs by Thursday, trouble.
And that's the thread with respect to the Habs last week. A lot of goals against. And they are going to make changes tonight on defense. It looks like Weidman and Harris are in, and Jack Guy and Kovacevic are going to be out. So Marty's going to change the defense a little bit. But hey, look, when a team's trying to establish identity, I just don't. And I get like not surrendering goals, and that's key. And it's the support you get from the forwards on defense, and certainly the goaltending. But it's not a 3-2 league either. Like this is more trending towards a 4-3 league, and you got to be able to score to win here. I don't see teams getting shut down because teams aren't afraid to go down 2 goals. Because there's so much talent in this league. There's been multiple goal comebacks all over the place this season. So I get the change, and I like the change on Martinez because the defense clearly wasn't working last week. And maybe it's growing pains, maybe it's an experience. It could have been a little bit better goaltending. But I like the move here to give, and we talked about it last week. There's just too many defensemen right now. Matheson's back in, so he's certainly not going to be coming out of the lineup. So I get the changes. We'll see how they work tonight against the Sabres.
Yeah, Jake Allen back in net against the Sabres tonight. Listen, I think he's certainly held down the fort. But do you think down the road, this is the answer? Do you think the Habs are looking to maybe at some point make a move for a goalie or maybe draft another goalie? And what do you think of the Primo thing? Primo.
Yeah, Primo, sure. That's why you draft the kid. And look, he came up here with a team that wasn't any good. It was a smart to just shelter him, send him back to the A. So he may be the answer next. But, at this point, you need 2 good goaltenders in this league. Because there's no Mika Kiprusoffs anymore playing, or Marty Brodeur is playing 72 games.
Yeah.
Your best goals, you're playing 55 to 60. You need effort from the other 25 to 30 games. So do I think they'll keep looking? I like Jake Allen. If the team got better in front of him, is he Carey Price? No. Is he the worst goaltender in the league? No. And you see on some nights he absolutely steals or keeps them in games. So I like him. And Montembeault, like he's going to play that little, and it's fine. He's been fine when he put him in. It's more about the defense. It's more about the defense gelling and how they play as a unit and a group and the system that Marty Lee puts in. So I think that's it. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to the goaltending nuts because of the salary cap situation. I'm not going to go out and trade for a Bobrovsky or some high-priced goaltender. I think it's a question, once you solidify the defense and you know who your top 6 is and night in, night out, once you do that and better defensive systems put in, at that point in time, you can adjust the goaltending because that's probably the last piece in the puzzle. Plus, you have a good enough team. I mean, Colorado showed last year. Darcy Kemper's a really good goalie, but he's not a superstar goalie, and he didn't win a cup. So I think that's my look at the goaltending. I think it's good enough for now. Once they need to get to the next level when they establish who the core is, at that point you might want to adjust the goaltending.
Yeah, you know, I look at, and certainly I get your points, and I see the league that way too. It's trending to more goals. It's more of a 4-3 league than a 2-1 league. I get it, but I'm just looking at this team in ways they can, and I know they're young, but
Yeah.
I'm I'm trying to find that happy medium, I guess, when I look at this team between scoring goals and being able to
Oh
defend
yeah,
better.
you
You
can't
know
give
what I
up
mean?
5 and 8.
Yeah.
They give up, they gave up 5 and 4 and 6. That's you're not winning game 7-6 in this league, and that's the issue. Like you do that one game out of 5, fine, but last week it was a lot of crooked numbers for the opposition, which you're not going to win games that way. You're just not.
Yeah, the positives though for this team looking listen, they brought it up on the power play. They've got it up to 18%,
Yep.
which is good. Positive sign. The PK is still above 80, so that's good. A lot of positive signs for this team moving forward. Again, big week here coming up, Buffalo, Columbus, and then Chicago on Friday, day after Thanksgiving. It's a 2
See,
o'clock game.
those are 3 winnable games.
Yeah, they are.
Those are 3 games that they absolutely can. Because Buffalo, wow, everybody talked about their start, but they're not talking about it right now. That's the whole thing, Nux. People will like saying, "Oh, Buffalo's going to make playoffs," and St. Louis is done. Okay, a week later, one team is in last, and the other team has won 7 or 8 in a row. So, but yeah, these are winnable games. And the thing about the Habs, I like their attitude. Like some games, they're not the better team, but they don't go into the game like that. Like, oh, we're going to be overmatched, and we just got to keep the score down. It's not like it was last season. They legitimately, at this point in the season, believe they can go out there and win every game, and that's why you see games like the other night. That was a very exciting game. It was a sloppy game, but I like their try. I like their attitude. He certainly has the respect in the room, Maurice St. Louis, of his players.
Yeah, hopefully he can address that defensive situation. All right, looking this week, obviously coming up, and then they play San Jose at home on the 29th. Then they get a big month away. So I guess how much do you buy into that Thanksgiving? If you're in a playoff spot by Thanksgiving, you're kind of penciled in to be in the playoffs at the end of the year.
Well, the numbers don't lie. What is it, 75% or something like that? 77%. Do I buy it? I think this season of all seasons, when you look at the teams who are in and who are out, I don't think this is the way it's going to end, Nux. Like, I don't think that Pittsburgh and Florida and Washington are going to be out. And I don't think that the Edmonton Oilers and the Nashville Predators are going to miss. So I think there are teams that can switch. But even if it's, let's say, 3 teams, that's still like 80%. So the numbers don't lie. So I do believe in it. The other thing is that it's a little skewed because some teams like the Kings have played 21 games and others have played like 18 games. So to say, oh, you're in a spot right now, maybe you want to do it by points percentage. But it mostly rings true because the really good teams are going to be in. Vegas and Boston and the Devils are going to be in, like unless they fall out of the sky. So, yeah, I do believe in that, but it doesn't mean that if your team isn't in the playoffs on November 25th, it doesn't mean that you won't get in. If they're close enough, fine. There's some teams that, like Columbus and Ottawa look out of it. But I think teams just don't, pack up their gear and go home saying, oh, we're not in the playoffs in November. It's still a very long season.
All right. Metropolitan Division, Jersey on top, obviously. God, they're still getting it done.
Ridiculous.
Listen, did you see Lindy Ruff's quote? I loved it. He said, throw away the iPads, get to know your players. I mean, that isn't all it is, but boy, this team, again, I mean, they're good on paper, but do you think they're playing way over their heads and this could come back to earth a little bit at some point?
Yeah, they're not going to play 842 hockey percentage the rest of the season next. I guarantee you that. They're really fast and really talented. Do I think that they're going to win a Stanley Cup and the President's Trophy? I don't think so. The question with every team now, they played 19 games. I mean, how injured are they going to be? Is Jack Hughes going to play a whole season? Like, is Vanacek really going to be this guy? Is it going to be like Shesterkin or Sorokin and across the river in New York? If he is, then they're going to win the division. I still think that even though they have an 8-point lead on Carolina, I think Carolina's a better team. But they're going to make the playoffs, and they should be better. This is what we've been waiting for, Nux. That's the whole thing. When you look back on this, they have 2 first overall picks on the team playing center, Hischier and Jack Hughes. Yes, they should be good. Not 13 in a row good? I don't think so. But they're confident. They're fast. They score a lot of goals. They have talent. Jesper Bratt's on the second line. He's just, point machine at this point in time. So it's surprising the level of improvement this team has had. But this is what the people in New Jersey were waiting for. They believed that they had the talent. They kept these guys together. They've added, and then one of the guys they added that's a really under the radar add, Jonas Siegenthaler is a really good defenseman. Yeah. Now he's on the top pair with Dougie Hamilton, and that's where he's working. Dougie's like the old Dougie. He's getting points. Look, do I think they're going to play this way for 82 games? I don't. Do I think they'll make the playoffs? Yeah, because I think if they stay healthy on the blue line, if Vanacek plays close to this level, they're going to make the playoffs. Do I think they're a Stanley Cup contender? It would be shocking to me. I think they're probably 5 or 6 teams I like better than them right now, and I wouldn't count out the Islanders because they just keep winning. But it's not a shock, because when you look at the roster, it is dotted with elite level players, and they're finally realizing their top ends with respect to Heischer and Hughes and Jesper Bratt, who's playing for a contract.
Okay, so you got Carolina, Islanders, Rangers in 4th spot. I don't like their home record. Rangers 4-3-3. They should be better at home. Madison Square Garden. Pittsburgh. These, Brian Burke, Hextall, they stuck with that older core. Do you think this pays off for them, or this is the last hurrah for Pittsburgh?
Well, they were in a tough go, right? They started well. They lost a bunch of games. They won 3 in a row. I think the one thing, I think this is one last ride. I think every year you get older with this group, and they are starting to multi-term deals, and they're Hall of Famers, right? I mean, Letang and Sid and Gino, without question, are. I'm not sure this team, again, this is a question of health. The defense isn't great, and Tristan Jarry is not the same Tristan Jarry that played last season. Tristan Jarry was really good. He had gotten hurt. Penguins probably beat the Rangers, right? Because they're up 3-1, he gets hurt. The one, I think, saving grace for this team is they haven't played a lot of home games. So they're out of a playoff spot right now, but they've played, 13 road games and 6 home games. So, and they're pretty good at home. They've always been historically a really good home team. So I don't know. I think they're good enough to make the playoffs, but even with these guys coming back and playing well, the one knock on this team, they sucked in the playoffs. The last 3 or 4 years, they play the Islanders, they lose. They just can't find a way to win games. I know it was unfortunate with Jarry getting hurt against the Rangers. You blow a 3-1 lead. This team does not come with those names on the team. They do not come through in the clutch. So they can win the division for all I can. Like, I want to see this team in the playoffs because since they've won the cup, they've been poor in the playoffs.
All right. So you said the Devils won't play 8:42 hockey the rest of the year. How about in the Atlantic, the Bruins, 895? Like, come on, 17-2-0. This is an incredible start there, 11-0 at home. You cannot. This isn't like you're going into the old Boston Garden and you're playing in that small rink and you have that big advantage. It's the same rink for everybody. But this team, like, they are hitting on all cylinders. It's incredible what they're doing.
The goal differential is plus 40.
Crazy.
They've played 19 games. That's 2 goals per game differential.
Crazy.
It's ridiculous. This team is ridiculous. They're 11-0 at home. This is now verging on history. With the Devils winning 13 in a row, this team's starting 17-2. And so what you could say that you come back to Montgomery. He calmed the waters. Everybody likes him. But they were a 107-point team last year, Knox. So are they this good? No. Are they a 107-point team? They probably are. With Bergeron and with Krejci back, it's a different team, different attitude. Yes, they did need a different voice. Bruce Cassidy just, his message just got worn out there. He demands a lot from his team, and they push back, and they didn't want to perform for him anymore, so he moved on. Monty's got a great team here, but if Hampus Lindholm is going to play like a Norris Trophy winner, because that's what he's playing like now at that level with the points that he's getting, which I've never really saw in Anaheim, and everybody's healthy. They've come back. They're deep. McAvoy just got back. Marchand just got back. This is a dangerous team. And again, the question is, I think the whole thing and what this team missed last season is David Krejci. He is such an improvement at the second line center. Last year they had Eric Haller, Charlie Cole, who's really a 3C in this league. To bring him back, and Pasternak's playing for a contract. He's super motivated. And Bergeron's having fun. He got his 1,000th point last night. His team loves him. When you're on a heater like this, everything happens, but it's not a surprise because there's a lot of talent on this team. The question was, like, their middle six, could they score goals? And, Olmark's been fantastic, not unlike the Devils, right, with Vanacek. So do I think they're going to play at this level? No. Are they a dangerous team that should be considered a cup contender? if this is the team that starts game 83, if they're this healthy and playing this well, maybe not to this extent of 17-2, like they can win a Stanley Cup. They can. I think they have all the components.
Yeah,
but the run they're on is incredible. They are super confident team. And nuts. This with your Habs team, I think some nights these guys go on the ice and they know they're already going to win. This is, we just got to do our job. We're going to win the game. That's how confident that they are right now.
Yeah, and they've certainly weathered the storm of the Mitchell Miller signing, and that probably makes a lot of people kind of put that in the back burner. But Bergeron, 1,000 point, the kid's incredible. Like, what's he, 37 now? God, he just seems like he doesn't age at all, and he's so steady, this kid.
He's brilliant. His hockey IQ, as everybody knows, is off the charts. And he's been productive. You thought maybe this year, okay, maybe you're going to take a little less offensively, and Pasternak's on a heater. But the second, he's tied with Lindholm for 18 points. So he's 9 goals, 9 assists, plus 12, winning 61% of his faceoffs at 37 years old. I get it. Maybe this is his last season. I don't know, but he's playing great. And I think if he has a season like this and they have a deep run, I think when he gets to the summertime, he may say, okay, let me saddle up one more time, because he's been great. There's been no decline in his game. He's played typical Patrice Bergeron hockey for the first 20 games of the Bruins.
All right, moving on to the Leafs. Listen, they got it going on the last 7-8 games, but God, they lose Morgan Riley. This could turn that blue line into a major league crisis. What do you think this provides an opportunity for someone, obviously, but do you think they're going to be able to weather the storm with the blue line in that kind of shape?
No, I think they got to go get help, because it's not just Morgan Riley. It's Jake Muzzin. It's TJ Verdi. All these guys are out. You have 3 guys out. Dubas has to be making phone calls, because right now the way the blue line's constituted, they're gonna have to win games 5-4.
Yeah,
that's the challenge with this team, because that defense isn't good enough. Who's on the top pair? I think it's Giordano and Liljegren.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah. So it goes Giordano, Liljegren, Sandine Hall, Jordy Ben, and Victor Mete.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
I mean, there's your answer.
There you go.
Right? Is that a team that's not a division-winning team? That's a team that probably gets to 100 points because of their offense. But I got to think Dubas is looking. But who's going to help this team out right now? And there's not a lot of trades early in the season. But with these guys gone multiple weeks, it's going to be a challenge. Their offense is going to have to step up, because I don't think they're going to get great defense, and their goaltending is questionable.
All right, the team I'm concerned about is Florida. New coach comes in there. This team, man, they looked a whole lot better last year during the season than we know what happened in the playoffs. And now this year they seem kind of stumbling out of the gate.
Well, I think if you're a Florida Panthers fan, winning the President's Trophy didn't mean jack. So maybe you go the other route and just get into the playoffs. There were massive changes. I mean, they lost big. I mean, I know they brought in Matthew Tkachuk, but losing Huberdeau and losing Mackenzie Weegar and Duclair's out with an Achilles. Like, this is not the same team. It's a different team, a different coach, a different system. They're not getting great goaltending again from Bobrovsky. I'm not concerned about this team. Should they be better than 9-8-2? Yeah, they should be. But we'll see, because it's a big adjustment period for this team. I think that's the biggest challenge. Are they adjusting to the system that Paul Maurice put in, because they are a talented team, but it's a different team. I wouldn't expect 125 points from this team. I think they have to do what their cousins in Tampa did. All right, winning division doesn't mean jack. Who cares about President's Trophy? Let's just get in and win, and that's Tampa Bay right now, right? They don't care where they finish. First, third, wild card. They'll beat you. They know they'll beat you. So that's what Florida has to do. I think, again, there's a lot of change with respect to the lineup and depth, so I wouldn't worry about them yet. If they're at this level at game 40 and not game 19, then you got to worry about this team.
All right, move over to Central. Any surprises there for you? I mean, Dallas, Colorado, Winnipeg at the top, 11-5-3. Dallas, the other two, 11-5-1. They're looking good. St. Louis, man, didn't look good at the start, but now they're starting to play some pretty good hockey.
Yeah, people had them counted. People are asking me, are they done? I'm like, it was 11 games into the season at 3-8. I mean, I know that they lost all these games in regulation. I'm like, you're not done 11 games into the season with this talent they have on the team. And what's happened? I think they're the first team Lux in NHL history to lose 8 straight and then win 7 straight after losing 8 straight.
Yeah.
So they got hot. They got confident. The puck started bouncing the right way for this team. The only surprise in this division is how well Winnipeg's playing. But now they lose Nikolai Ehlers, so that's going to be a big blow to their offense. But I like the way they're playing. Dallas has been great. Showed last night, even though they lost in overtime. Jason Robertson is an incredible goal scorer, but Colorado did Colorado things. So I like to see a race in this division. Colorado isn't the healthiest team right now, and they do have losses. You know, they don't have Burakovsky, they don't have Kadri, that they've already left via free agency, but they've won 3 in a row. So this is going to be a competitive division. I'd like to see better from teams, not the 4 that we mentioned, but Nashville and Minnesota have been really disappointing to me. I expected better. Nashville won 2 games in Europe, came back, haven't played well. And Minnesota's trying to find their way. Marc-Andre Fleury wasn't on the ice for practice. They haven't been a good home team. The 2 surprising teams in that division for me is Nashville and Minnesota. I thought they would be better.
All right, well, let's head to the West. Look at Cale Makar become the fastest D-man in NHL history to reach 200 points. That's awesome. That's including Bobby Orr, Paul Coffey, right?
Yep.
That's quite a feat, especially in today's game. What are you looking at in that division?
With respect to Colorado, again, Nucks, they don't care, right? They have their rings. It doesn't matter where they finish. They have all these guys out of the lineup. Landeskog missing for a couple of months is going to be. So they're just marking time until the playoffs. Like, they're going to be in the playoffs. They're probably going to win the division. Although Dallas has been great, and Robertson's been great. Tyler Sagan's healthy. Ottinger's playing better now. So this could be a 2-team race. I think that's what we look at. Maybe St. Louis sticks their nose in, because this is the St. Louis team that I thought would be coming into the season. There's not maybe 7 in a row consecutive wins, but this is a good veteran team that has a lot of talent on it. So I think if you had to handicap the division, I think it's Dallas and Colorado probably battling out for the top spot if Dallas stays healthy, and then St. Louis probably 3rd at this point.
Now we move to the West. So I buffooned there, but Vegas, LA, Seattle. Are you surprised at your Kings so far? And the Kraken. Hello.
No, I'm surprised. I'm surprised at the Kraken. The Kraken are 7-2-1 in the last 10 games, and they're playing that defensive style. And they're playing very well on the road. They're 5-1-1 away from Climate Pledge Arena. They're not so great at home. They're 5-4-2. They're actually under hockey 500 at home. I'm surprised. You would think they would get better offensive help, and they have with respect to Burakovsky coming over from Colorado. They're just acclimated to the system. They're getting better. And a guy like Tanev, who went out early last year with an injury, he's a key player on their scheme. So to have him back as an energy player means a lot. It's a nice start. Do I think they're a playoff team? I don't. The Kings have been up and down. You don't really know. They've put together one really complete 60-minute effort, and that was last week in Edmonton. They won 3-1. They shut down Connor and Leon. You didn't really even see them as a factor of the entire game. But then they go to Vancouver and lose 4-1. They go lose to Seattle in overtime. It's been an up and down season. I really don't know what to make of this team. They're better offensively, but defensively some nights it's a real challenge. So when you hear about teams, you talked about Toronto making a trade, I still think the Kings need a left defenseman. I still think they should be chasing Jacob Chikrin. I don't know if they will or not. So I'm not surprised they're second in the division, but they've played 21 games. They've played 3 more games than Seattle and Calgary. They're only a few points in front of them. So they're probably 3-4 in the division right now. So not a surprise. They're just trying to still establish their identity, because it's not the team that won all these 3-2 games last season.
Jack Campbell, poor Jack Campbell. What's going on with him? He's backing up on the bench in New Jersey, and he gets one right in the schnoz. God, is something telling him to, this is a bad move for you?
Shut it down?
Yeah.
No, he's not poor. Well, he's not poor Jack Campbell, because he's getting $5 million
of
a year
course
for the next 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So he's just, goaltenders get streaky, and just like goal scorers. And he's on a bad streak right now. And he's an emotional guy, and his confidence level is probably not the highest right now. So they give this net to Stuart Skinner. But they're gonna need Jack to win rounds in the playoffs. They're gonna need Jack to play better this season, because they aren't playing that great. And I said it last week, missing Evander Kane is huge for this team.
Yeah.
It's a major thing. He scores goals. I think he scored 40 goals in 68 games since he's come over and signed here as a free agent in Edmonton. They missed the goal scoring, but they missed the attitude. They missed the edge around the net. Connor McDavid likes him, so whatever you think about him, it doesn't really matter. He was the guy that said, okay, I got no problem with Evander coming over. He earned him the contract, which he deserved based on his season last season. But this team's going to struggle. Again, the same things, Nux. Depth, defense, and we're still not sure about the goaltending. So even with those two superstars they have, and they're two of the greatest and elite players in the game, in Connor and Leon, it's a 23-man roster. And this roster is just not performing the level it should. You have one major injury like Evander Kane. Now you question the offense. So it's going to be a challenging season for this team. And there's a lot of pressure on the Edmonton Oilers in that market because there's very, very high expectations because they went to the conference final last year.
I know March 3rd, a trade deadline is quite a ways off. But listen, Bo Horvat, contract situation, could that happen before March 3rd? And then Patrick Kane, Jonathan Toews, also kind of guys that are attracting interest around the league. Do you see any of those guys moving before March 3rd?
Well, Kane, I do. Kane and Toews, they're gonna orchestrate their exit from Chicago. If they want to leave, it's going to be up to them. They both have full movement clauses. And Nux, to be honest, if I was an icon in Chicago and I won 3 rings and I was making over $10 million a year, maybe I wouldn't want to leave Chicago. It's a great city. You're icons there. It's not like an Iginla where he wanted to chase a cup because he never won in Calgary. These guys have won. They're established there. So I'm not sure. And I would have thought what would have greased the wheels for these guys to leave, at least from Chicago standpoint, is if the team was really crappy to start and they were like 1-8 coming out of the box, and these guys who have been historically used to winning, that much losing, but the team they've lost 4 in a row, but they haven't been that bad a team, right? Up until this losing streak, they were 6-5-3. Now they're 6-9-3. If they start losing a lot, maybe it gets to these guys, and they'll say, okay, let me have one more run, towards the end of the season. I don't think in a hurry to leave. I don't think that, and it looks like Toews really wasn't in the mix when they talked about rebuilding this team. So I'm not sure about that. Horvat's a different story, right? So Horvat, I assume that at 6-10-3, and they lost a bad game last night to Vegas after they took the lead 4-2 in the third. I'm assuming there's prices on these guys that the Canucks have established with other general managers. If somebody meets it, they're going to make the trade, right? Because at $390 for the expectations were high, right? Bruce came. Look, here's the worst thing about being Bruce right now. Like, Bruce got the job because last year the team started really badly and cost Travis Green his job. Now, the one thing they had to avoid was a bad start, and guess what? They got another bad start. So now Bruce is under the gun. The one thing that kind of, I think, saves him a little bit is I don't think ownership wants to pay 3 big-time coaches. They're still paying Travis Green.
I get that, but with Bruce, how can it turn so quickly, though? Like, come on. Like, it seemed like they loved this guy last year. They played for them. They executed. And then all of a sudden, it just seems like, I don't know if they're tuning him out. Are they sick of him already?
I don't know. Their defense isn't any good. And not only that, Demko saved them a lot last year down the stretch. He hasn't been that good. He finally played good against Los Angeles the other night. Didn't play so great last night.
Right.
That's it. It's not on because I think that Rutherford knows, even though he gave no support to Boudreau when he went on the radio in Vancouver last week. I think they know that they didn't improve the defense. Like, they did nothing to improve this defense in the offseason. That was the sore point for this team because they got talent up front. You mentioned Horvat. He's been great with scoring goals. JT Miller, Marcus Pettersson, Brock Besser finally woke up against the Kings. They've got offense. Their defense wasn't any good. You look at some of those pairs that they put out there, I'm sorry, it's just not working. Tyler Myers, he's a challenge every shift. Right? Oliver Ekman-Larsson isn't the guy that they thought they were getting from Arizona on a long-term deal. So I get that, but I wouldn't put it on Bruce because I just think this is a really poor defensive team that didn't get good cold and start. And when that happens, you win 6 of your first 19 games.
All righty. So we're at the 20-game mark, and I'll leave you with this. I want to ask you one more. and that is for you, Dennis Bernstein, the hockey aficionado.
Me.
The hockey aficionado. What is the biggest surprise in the NHL for you this season? The biggest surprise, like you can't believe it.
Let's see. The biggest surprise to me is I think the Devils.
Yeah.
I just they have to be, right. They've won 13 straight.
Yeah.
Like, come on. What kind of price? What kind of bet could you've got? Okay, I'm going to make a bet last month or in October that the Devils are going to win 13 straight at some point. This is historic stuff.
Yeah, it is.
I think there's like 5 or 6 teams that have won more in a row than they have, and to me that's it, because you question it. And let's remember, this team came 0-2 out of the box, and they were booing and wanted to fire the coach, the fans.
Yep.
So I think that I think the in-season not a turnaround. They lost the first team, but to go this hot, this early, that's a huge surprise. Because I'm looking at the teams that are at the bottom, and nobody's like the Ducks. I knew would be bad. Coyotes, of course. Blue Jackets, yeah, you're a little upset because Johnny Gaudreau comes in. You have Laine, but next year they can have Laine, Gaudreau, and Connor Bedard. Ottawa and Buffalo. I look at the bottom feeders and I'm like, okay, there's no surprises there. I didn't think much of Ottawa to start. Buffalo, I think it was a coming team, but didn't think they were a playoff team. So the one thing, I just think the record for the Devils to be 16-3 and won 13 in a row, it's a huge surprise. I thought they would be better, like a 500 team, not an 842 team. I don't think anybody did that. So I want to find the person that thinks that they were going to start 16-3.
Yeah, there's no way. And yeah, they're definitely not your Jacques Lemaire coach Devils. That's for sure. Big difference.
Absolutely not. Man.
Well, Dennis, hey, awesome. Thanks for joining me again today. Appreciate it, buddy. And we will talk again next week.
Always a pleasure, Knucks. Always great being on the Raw Knuckles podcast with you.